Stump the Theologian.
Do this. I'm already sweating.
You should be. You should be. So,
okay. I'll get my stuff
our question for today is, will people be condemned for not believing in Jesus, though they've never heard his name?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Short answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So how's that work out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's not nice.
Yeah, it's not nice. So
I thought God was love.
I'll do it this way. I'll start with Acts 17.
Okay.
And Paul is in Athens. He's addressing the Athenian leadership here with as far as philosophers go and things like that. The great minds. He goes up to the Areopagus, and or Mars Hill, as the Romans would want it to be called. And he goes up there to discuss formally this God he believes in, that they have not worshipped. It's different.
Okay.
And so, and there's a whole, okay, so I'll cut to the chase here because we have a limited time here. So I'll get to verse 26. So as he's giving his gospel presentation, he's making a point that, hey, there is one ultimate creator. We are the created beings, and so we should act like it, essentially, is the idea. Okay, so he says, and he made, in verse 26 of Acts 17, and he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth. So from Adam, the entire human race flows.
Okay.
Then he says, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place. So with all these people, God has created people to live in a certain spot in the timeline of human history and a certain place in the geography of the earth.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where I get the
pre-appointed times and boundaries of the dwellings is how the New King James says.
Okay.
So, same
so
thing.
Then in verse 27, it starts with that, which is purpose. Okay, for what purpose did God do this? That they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him, and the ultimate end here is, and find him. And then he reminds them that, yes, God is this huge, transcendent, divine being way out there, but also he's the immanent God, very close. And so he says, yet he is actually not far from each one of us. And he begins to quote their own philosophers and poets to prove his points. They're like, yeah, you already believe these kind of ideas. I'm just putting it all together. And so from right there, you see that we don't know how it plays out, but we do know that for however it happens, that each person, you, me, everybody, lives in a certain place on the earth in a certain time period, so they have the ability to seek him and find him, whether they do or not. So then you go, okay, so we know nothing about that, and is that strong enough? Well, we know a little bit more, actually. We do know a little bit more. And so then we go to Romans 1, and with Romans 1, Paul is, in verse 15, he's like, so I'm eager to preach the gospel. And then he gives reasonings. He's like, I'm not ashamed of the gospel in verse 16. Why is that? Well, because of the power of God, revealing the righteousness of God. And then verse 18, he talks about the wrath of God. He gives that urgency to share the gospel. I'm eager to do it because the wrath of God is coming. And it's been revealed from heaven, in verse 18, against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. So there is truth that is revealed to them, and they are literally holding it down, suppress the truth. And then verse 19, for what can be known about God, which I think is kind of a lot of stuff, for what can be known about God is plain to them. What do you mean, Paul? How is that possible? He says, because God has shown it to them. In verse 20, he explains this further. It says, for his invisible attributes, and out of all his invisible attributes, he says, namely, his eternal power and divine nature, which is a pretty big deal, have been clearly perceived. Since when? Well, ever since the creation of the world. Through what? He says, in the things that have been made. So creation. So they are without excuse. And he goes on about that. So they're without excuse. Romans 1 because of creation. Romans 2 because of conscience. So that's how God is revealed to us. And so Acts 17 is talking about, well, I put you in a certain place and time so that you could seek and find me. How do they do that? Well, God's revealing himself through creation. And then even more specifically, you have Psalm 19. This will be my last one. So I'm trying to keep it short here. So, and that's, very obviously pretty common, I should say, pretty common verses here. The heavens declare the glory of God, the sky above proclaims his handiwork. So the heavens and the sky above, same thing. Declare, proclaims, same thing. Glory of God and his handiwork is the same thing. So what shows, what is communicating God's glory? His creation, handiwork. So then day to day, night to night in verse 2, in other words, 24/7, pours out, it reveals speech, knowledge. So there's a communication that's being revealed. It was not seen previously. Now it is revealed. What is the knowledge? The knowledge of the Creator. Because it's his handiwork, creation. So creation reveals Creator, right? So that's how it works. So if his creation is revealing his glory, that means it is revealing that there is a glorious Creator. That's kind of the idea. And then it goes on just to go ahead and say that literally 100% of humanity is exposed to this communication because it's 24/7, sky above, heavens glares, And so there's the part of creation there as well. So I do believe that they are given some level of light or truth, you could say, somehow, some way. It's their choice to choose or reject it. And there's so many, quote unquote, crazy stories all around the earth. And a lot of it don't get much publicity, where people have been prepared for the gospel. God has prepared the gospel for all peoples, but he's also prepared all peoples for the gospel. And a great book recommendation on this is Eternity in Their Hearts by Don Richardson. And it talks about all these different cultures and even references in Acts 17, the unknown God, how that actually was a real, it's like that I was referring to something specific, not just a catch-all, something very specific. So really, really cool stuff. But that would be why they're not off the hook. I do believe that there is a legitimate offer to everyone, but God does not force things.
Okay. So, was that answer satisfactory? You guys make the call. Let us know in the comments.